Hey, today I am quite excited actually because I'm going to be continuing on with the human design series that we have been sharing. We've gone through the 5 types and now we're about to get into the authorities, which is often aligned with the strategies as well that each type has. So sometimes there can be authorities in human design that more than one type can have. And so the authority might work slightly different depending on the type. But this one I've chosen to talk about first because it is my favorite to work with. I'm a little bit biased. As a environmental projector, I must say those that have the Sacral Authority are the easiest to work with, to get them engaging with their body authority. And I just love it. I love it. And it's probably one of the more simple ones as well. I mean, they all are simple in their own way, just some of them can take a bit longer and there's some other nuances to it. So the Sacral Authority is the second most common around the world. About 35% of the population currently have what we would call a Sacral Authority. And what I love about sacral beings, as we call them, those that have the defined sacral, whether it's your authority or if you have an emotional authority with a sacral definition, which is another video. We're going to talk about that in another time when we talk about emotional authority. Just talking about the sacral authority today. But those that are sacral beings, they have this consistent, abundant, sustainable flow of energy within them. If it's in their young, we're going to talk about that soon, of course. Whereas non-sacral beings, which we call the reflectors, the manifestors, and the projectors, we will absorb and amplify the sacral energy when it's in our space, when we're in physical presence of people that are sacral beings. So we don't really necessarily bring that energy to the group and how the body works, but we will absorb it and we can help amplify it if it's in our space. But of course, for us to be in that all the time, that's unhealthy because it's not actually our energy, and it's also not what we're here to be doing all the time. Whereas you generators and manifesting generators, oh my gosh, I love you guys. You guys are great. You guys get things done. It's amazing. Like, where would we be in this world if we didn't have sacral beings? I just don't know. Okay, so only generators and manifesting generators can have a sacral authority. And they each have their own strategy. So as I spoke about before, the generators, their strategy is to respond. So I've spoken about that in another video about generators. And in another video, I spoke about manifesting generators, and their strategy is to respond and inform. So the manifesting generators, they're a lot more generator type than manifestor type. It's more that they're a generator with some additional sprinkles. And that brings its own challenges, but also its potential expansions with that as well. And so the Sacral Authority is all about listening to your guttural sounds. So what sounds want to move through your body from that space in the body? And I call it listening to your young. And the way it works is through response. So having someone, this is the best way to work with it, is having someone that's not biased or attached to any of your outcomes of the questions, but can ask you the right questions, and the questions are yes, no questions. So it's not what movie do you want to see, it's do you want to go to the movies? Do you want to see ABC movie? Do you want to see Rah 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 movie? I can't give you a movie title, apologies, because I have no idea about pop culture these days. So, but you get the idea, right? It's yes, no questions. And the great thing about waiting for things to respond to is that life is always giving you something to respond to, whether you actually have humans or not have humans in your environment, right? You go out to nature, there'll be animals and there'll be plants and there'll be the weather, and that even in your home there'll be things in your home that are giving you something to respond to, which is what I love about this kind of authority and the strategy. Life is always giving you something to respond to. You are never going to be bored. And if you're bored, you're doing something that's not in your yum. Now, with a lot of sacral beings and those with the sacral authority, you may have found when you were very little, if you remember, that there'd be times in conversation where you may have used sounds instead of what we would call words to be communicate or to be engaging with life. And that can get conditioned out of you as a young child of stop making sounds, use your words. And so then you kind of stop doing that and you use your words and you're trying to communicate another way. So these kind of sounds can be like So there's that sort of the noises. They sort of, if you were to write them on paper, they might have like letters M or like UH or OH, those kinds of sounds. And you're going to have to practice this. If you're not used to doing this, like listening to what does your yes sound like, what does your maybe sound like, what does your no sound like, and that could be slightly different for each of you, but getting really clear on what are those sounds are. And of course, being in environments with people that encourage you to like, make these freaking noises, let them come out of your mouth. They don't have to be shouting at the top of their lungs, but just let them flow, because then you're going to hear, oh yeah, what does the body really want? What does the sacral response want? Is this in my yum or is this not in my yum? So obviously, if you're getting a like, noise, it's a yum. That's a yes. If you're getting a noise that's about hesitation, there's a maybe, there's nothing, there's a no, then it's going to be a no. And it's going to be a no for now. So what you want to do today could be different to how you respond to it tomorrow, especially if you're a manifesting generator, because there's a lot more changing that happens with the manifesting generator of the body liking something, not liking something, not liking something, then liking something. And that's, you know, a little bit of the challenge for some people being a manifesting generator. They can kind of think like, oh gosh, if I've got ADHD, you know, and all these other sort of things that come in to play. So just to touch on the manifesting generator a little bit more, with the manifesting generator, they also have another thing about informing, and they can actually initiate things. But the initiation's not the same way in which a manifestor will. So a example of this might be you're having a conversation with someone and they're like, oh, I really got so much benefit out of you showing me that yoga stretch the other day to assist with this ailment, blah, 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 that I had in my body. You should teach yoga, you're so good at it, blah, 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 blah. So this is almost like life is giving you not just something to respond to, but it's like encouraging you to start something. So that's the great thing about the manifesting generators. You can, you know, also start things, but there needs to have been this experience in life in which it's like encouraging you to do that. Whereas the manifestor, there doesn't necessarily need to be that. It's them engaging with their authority as to what that is, and then just initiating it. But there's always the informing, right? So you'd be telling people, oh, I'm going to be doing yoga classes, blah, 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 blah. Or, you know, those that are around you that might be affected by you not being available, or you needing to go somewhere or be somewhere for this kind of new project that you're starting. So letting those around you that may be affected by what it is you're about to initiate, letting them know. And that's the point of informing, because with the manifestor and the manifesting generator, more so the manifestor, when you're starting things and you haven't let people know around you that can be affected by that, it can be quite a shock to the system. So informing can be really good of like, I'm doing this tomorrow, just letting you know. So yeah, thought I would just let you know about that. So, and the thing with the manifesting generators, they have much more of a direct connection to the throat, hence why they have this manifesting sprinkle. They can inform, they can initiate. That also means they can have a lot more of a multitask kind of aspect to them, and they can kind of like skip steps. They can also go really fast with certain things. Sometimes if they skip too many steps and they go too fast, they might have to backtrack and go back to, you know, page 2 because they've gone straight to page 10. You know what I mean? So there's a bit of a backtracking because they've gone too far with the steps, or it's just how it's meant to have been to show them something to then go, oh, okay. Everything has its own purpose and a way in which it works and why it works that way. Whereas the generators have to be a bit more patient. It's a lot more linear with their process. Step 1, step 2, step 3. And then just to add some other additional information in regards to the Sacral Authority, but this is also going to apply to all the other authorities as well. The gates, the defined gates that you have in your sacral center, it's also going to have a bit of an influence as well in how you may experience your sacral authority. And then on top of that, there can be the planetary transitions as things are moving through. Also the other related gates on the other side of a channel. So you may have defined channels, or you might have pokey out gates, so gates that poke out of a channel, but there's no other gate the other side that's connected them. It's not defined. But then you get a planet that transitions through one of those, and then boom, you've got a channel coming through. And then so that can start to add a bit more nuance as well to what you might be experiencing with your sacral authority and the kind of things that you're being drawn to and not drawn to. Now that kind of dive into human design is a lot more in depth, and that's something that we would be talking about much later on through the human design videos, and it might even be something that is more of a course form, and it's not necessarily something that's just sort of spoken about and shared. So yeah, I'm going to ponder on that more. We're not going to go too much into the gates, at least not now anyway, and if so, I will engage as to how I'm going to share that information, because there's quite a lot and there's a lot of nuances to it, and it can be quite in depth. And then you also get into the gene keys, which is a whole other thing, which we'll probably talk about at some point, as well as I'm still learning more and researching and experimenting with those as well. So yes, that's my video on Sacral Authority. As I said, it's definitely my favourite authority to work with, because I just got to know the right questions, ask the questions, they get to hear themselves with what it is that their body wants to tell them with their sacral center, and I love it. And I do see a lot of times when you're really new into human design, you have a sacral authority, there's a lot of like, how could this be so simple? Like, this is too simple. Like, I can't have it be too simple. Like, how dare my major decision-making process be that simple? But it's okay. It's okay to have a simple authority and embrace it, is what I have to say with it. Experiment with it. If it's working, embrace it. I mean, think about how much time and mental chit-chatter you waste when you're not engaging with your sacral authority, if that's what your human design says that you have. Like, oh my gosh, you could be spending a lot more time doing the things that you love and spreading your energy in the places that enliven you and then enliven those around you. Because if you're not in your yum, I can tell you, as a non-sacral being, I freaking feel it and I don't freaking like it. I can deal with it, but it also means I don't want to be in your energy as much as when you're in your yum and we're working together, or we're in the presence of each other. Like, yeah, I want everyone in their yum. If you're a sacral authority, please live more in your yum. The whole planet will literally thrive even better. Yeah. So yes, that's all I need to say on that for now. I could just keep rambling. There's no point in that. You can see I'm quite excited about that one. So the next authority we're going to talk about is most likely going to be the emotional authority. It's the most common one in the world. It is a little bit more nuanced in how it works. Also, there are other types of beings that can have this as their authority. And pretty much I'd say, yeah, there's 4 types that can have an emotional authority. The only one that won't is a reflector. So yeah, it's going to be probably a bit longer, that one, because we're going to have 4 types that we're going to be talking about as to how they're each going to be working with their emotional authority. And that goes all back to each of the strategies that they have. If you've got any questions about the sacral authority, if you're a sacral being, let me know in the comment section below. Let me know if you've been experimenting with living in your yum as well. How is that working for you? I want to see it in those comments, please. I know sometimes I can be a bit delayed in replying, and I really do care and I do appreciate the comments. I just have to create space to sit down and to go through them all and be present with them, project it as I am, sort of, a bit more focused with my energy. Yeah, so yes, we'll talk again soon, we'll share again soon, and